Association, a group of indigenous chocolate farmers who live and work in the Amazon, and they want to build a chocolate facility and be connected to a first world market, and that money will allow them to conserve their own land. This is being done by them and for their communities, so this is a self-sustaining model.
Katie and I had the chance to judge some of the 400 designs that were submitted to the challenge. All those designs are now in the public domain.
The whole idea of doing a competition is not to have one solution, but to have many. We could do one small thing that could create massive social and economic change. The idea is you don't win a prize, but you win the opportunity to change this community.
After traveling so far and for so long, it was wonderful to finally get back home to Texas and my family. One of the reasons I started this journey was that I wanted to be a good example for my kids. Just a few years later, I realized how much I've learned from them about the choices that start right in our own homes.
How do you live your life? How do you live your life? How do you live your life?
Even our smallest actions, the basic choices we make in our lives, spread far across the world. You might choose to put solar cells on your home or sign up for a source of renewable power. If your utility doesn't have a green power choice, you might ask them why. You might choose to eat local food, or you might custom build your own electric car, or drive a car that uses sustainable biodiesel, and I don't mean fuel that's made from food. The choices we make today are the only thing that will lead to a world that will still be thriving when our children are grown. To make the right choices, we need teachers in our lives. Some people go to the mountaintop for advice. I just head to the hills west of Austin, where an old friend has always been willing to share a little wisdom. Besides, in a classic road movie, someone generally turns up that you never expected to see. Hello again.
You must be Turk.
You must be Willie.
I've heard so much about you.
I've heard so much about your chess game.
Oh, well, don't believe that. Well, you get to keep it.
Well, I wanted to ask you about choices that you make in your life. You run your tour buses and your cars on biodiesel. And why is that?
First of all, I think it's necessary that we quit using as much oil as we can. There's no reason to go around the world starting wars over oil. We have farmers who can grow our food and our fuel.
Farm Aid is something that you've supported for a very long time. When it comes to food, I mean, do you pay attention to the food you eat? We're talking about choices.
Yeah, when you look at your breakfast in the morning and you realize how much food comes from more than 1,500 miles away when it didn't have to. The bottom rung on the economic ladder is agriculture. And as soon as we get the farmer back in there, the family farmer, not the big corporate guy, but the guy who lives on the farm, drinks the water, eats the food, feeds his family and the town around him. Those are the guys we want back.
Oh, that's whose food I want to eat.
Yeah.
Who's winning this game?
It's pretty even.
When did you start paying more attention in your life?
Well, the early part of my life, I was pretty intent on doing everything I shouldn't do. And Grandmama said, hard head, sore ass. So I went through that period.
Well, I may regret this. Let's see
What are you going to regret? Oh, for sure.
I made a choice in my life right there.
Well, it was a good one. Yeah, that'll work. Did you hear about the guy who went to the doctor, and the doctor said, got some bad news, you're going to die.
Hear that one.
And he said, well, it's pretty cold-blooded. Is there something I could do? They said, yeah, you might start taking maybe 3 or 4 mud baths every day. He said, will that help? He said, well, it'll help you get used to the dirt.
You're about to come in here and put the hammer down on me, I can tell right now.
What in the world would make you think I would do something?
Best experience. So we're talking about choices, and it seems to me like the biggest choice we get to make in our life is peace, because it has to be a conscious decision. You have to work for it.
True story.
True story.
Peace has to be something that's taught.
Something that's taught.
That there is a peaceful solution.
Well, not a very peaceful move.
Do what?
It wasn't a very peace-like
mine?
move. Yeah.
Everybody's lost their queen at one time or another.
Good game. Well, you think we'll ever figure it out?
Oh, I think it's already figured out. If the answer is there, if you look for it, you know what to do. Right and wrong is not that hard. It's just what you choose to do.
That reminds me of this story about an old Indian who's teaching his grandson, and he says there's 2 wolves that fight inside of each of us, and one wolf feeds on hate and envy and war, and the other wolf feeds on love and compassion and peace. And the kid says, which one wins?
Well, yeah, it's an obvious answer, the one you feed.
So what we need to do is we need to
feed the peace.
Feed the peace. Did you ever ask yourself, where did that year go? Or find yourself wondering, did it used to be this warm in December? I'd love to have stayed home with my family for all the Christmas holidays, but Willie's advice to feed the peace reminded me that there was someplace I needed to be. It was Nobel laureate Jody Williams who told me,
there's nothing magical about change. It is getting up off your ass and caring enough to take the first step to contribute to change on an issue you care about.
I'm in Oslo, Norway. It's a little cold. At the signing conference for the International Treaty to Ban Cluster Munitions, weapons so terrible, you pretty much have to see it to believe it. I first learned about cluster bombs from Jody Williams, who received the Peace Prize for her work on banning landmines. Just a few years later, Jody's husband is playing a key role in the movement to ban cluster munitions.
This convention is a thing of beauty. Like many beautiful things, it is full of hope and promise. This convention is a categorical prohibition on cluster munitions. It must endure so that international humanitarian law is both protected and advanced.
What is a cluster bomb?
A cluster bomb, or a cluster munition, sort of a broader phrase, is essentially a large container that opens up in midair and spews out hundreds of individual bomblets called submunitions. These spread out over a huge area, several football fields, from a single cluster bomb, and are essentially indiscriminate in their attack. So if you use them anywhere near civilian areas. You're almost guaranteed to kill and injure large numbers of civilians. To make matters worse, many of these individual bomblets, hundreds at a time, don't explode on contact. Instead, they function like anti-personnel landmines. They're still dangerous. They're still armed. You come along, you pick it up, you kick it, they'll go off. It's a weapon that just kills and injures far too many civilians during the attack and then keeps on killing for days, weeks, months, years, even decades later.
We've sold these weapons all over the world, yes?
The U.S. has, without question, been the most prolific user of the weapon, going back to the Vietnam War, up through use in Iraq in 2003. It's been the most prolific user, the most prolific producer, the biggest exporter. The U.S. alone has cluster munitions containing almost 1 billion submunitions.
A lot of these submunitions look like something that might be fun to play with.
The ribbon is supposed to stabilize it in flight. It doesn't do that terribly well. But when it lays on the ground, a child sees an attractive thing that looks very much like a toy. And so we've seen them pick them up, and if they don't explode right away, they'll start twirling the ribbon around, and then they will explode. It's happened over and over again.
I met a number of people in Oslo who are dedicating their lives to the fight to ban cluster munitions. Lynn Bradich is the mother of an American Marine who was killed in Iraq while clearing cluster bombs dropped by his own country.
As with many people in the U.S., I had no knowledge of this weapon and its grievous impact on civilian populations until the death of my son, Corporal Travis John Braddock Knoll.
The majority of us don't think about what was left behind. And so I guess that's why I'm here. And it truly does give me a sense of peace to speak out.
Myrna Ashur responded to the 1 million unexploded cluster munitions on the ground in southern Lebanon by becoming a professional deminer. Ainalem Zenebi of Ethiopia lost a leg to a cluster bomb when she was just 7 years old. And 13-year-old Ayat Seliman was burned over 65% of her body by an American cluster bomb dropped during the invasion of Iraq in 2003. Hi, I'm Turk.
My name is Ayat.
What happened when your brother found a cluster bomb?
My brother, Jakob, he go out and he take it. He throw it was a toy. He take it in the home that we was sitting on and it's bombed. My 3 brothers died.
And you've had a lot of surgeries?
50 operations.
50?
50. And we cannot live in Iraq, so we come to Sweden, and I have very problems now in the school. They say that I'm ugly, and they don't want to look to me.
I think you're very beautiful.
Thank you.
Just as with the landmine ban 10 years ago, the U.S. is not going to sign the treaty to ban cluster bombs. At least not until the American people wake up and speak up. Pick an issue, Jody told me, and take the first step. There's one place where every concerned voter can start. Over 110 nations in the world have joined together, passed this treaty to ban cluster munitions. Unfortunately, the United States is not participating and is obviously not going to sign this treaty. So I'm figuring you must have had a lot of email from people about this issue.
We have had some.
You have? Good.
Over the last couple of years, I'd say we probably have had 50 or so inquiries, but not that many since the treaty was signed.
How many emails would it take to really wake somebody up in Washington?
It's not only the number of communications, which we certainly pay attention to, but it's the quality of the communication. I think the best kind of letter is the one that asks a question that a form letter in response cannot answer.
I'm a big fan of votesmart.org. You put in your zip code, and you get immediately, it comes back your list, everybody from the President of the United States down to the local dog catcher with emails and phone numbers. And what are other issues that you think that people should be paying attention to that they're not giving you any feedback?
Well, in terms of the money that we appropriate every year 55 cents of every dollar is going to military expenditures.
55 cents of every dollar.
55 cents of every dollar that we appropriate in the Congress. We spend as much in 1 week in Iraq as it would take to fund the college education for over 1 million students, where we could be putting people on the dean's list instead of the casualty list. It takes a good bit of public involvement